When the Creation Museum opened in 2007, I was one of the people who was there on opening day to actually protest that they were calling it a museum in the first place. But after the protest was done, I actually bought a ticket and went inside the Creation Museum. And so did a lot of people I was protesting with. And a lot of people may argue, why would you go in there? Why would you give money to the Creation Museum? And the thought that I had at the time was it was better to have gone in there and see for myself what they have to offer, because then I can go spread the word to other people about what I saw. I can take pictures and show it to everybody else, and maybe by exposing what they were doing, that would be better for everybody else. That's what I was thinking about when I heard about the Ken Ham, Bill Nye debate that happened recently over evolution and creationism and which one's a more viable model. It's silly, and that was my initial thought. That's a crazy debate to have. That's the thought a lot of people had. Bill Nye, why would you even sign up to do this? Why would you bother doing this? Like, how much are they paying you to do this? Because there's no debate in the scientific world over creationism. There's debate over aspects of evolution, but by and large, just about all real scientists accept evolution. But I think I've changed my mind about this having watched the debate. And it goes back to why I went into the Creation Museum on opening day in the first place. And when I watched the debate, I realized Bill Nye is doing an okay job of presenting the science side. I don't know how compelling it was. I don't know if it convinced anyone to be a scientist or anything like that. Maybe it did. I hope it did. But when I saw Ken Ham speak, it was ridiculous. He had nothing credible to say. Everything he said, honestly, boiled down to the Bible says it, so it must be true. He didn't have a scientific argument for creation. He had a biblical argument for creation. And I think the most telling moment of the debate was when the moderator asked, what would it take to get you to change your mind? And Bill Nye said, give me one piece of evidence, and I'll do it. Give me one piece of evidence against evolution, and I'll do it. And Ken Ham said, nothing would change my mind, because the Bible says creationism is the truth. And I think that's so telling right there. And I realized there may be a lot of people out there who had no idea how not based in science Ken Ham's views were. And when you expose that nonsense to the masses, that probably benefited the scientific community. Like, oh, this is the hyped debate. This is the best the other side has to offer, and it was horrible. And maybe that exposure of someone who has such a silly idea is what we need. And I was thinking that maybe by exposing a lot of their teaching to the masses, it'll actually help. And the few bucks I had to pay to get into the Creation Museum, it's a small price to pay for the opportunity to expose what they're doing. And so I think I've changed my mind about this. I no longer think Bill Nye was totally crazy to accept the debate. I think there was value in exposing, honestly, what Ken Ham has to believe. I remember in 2012, Dan Savage, the amazing sex columnist, activist, writer, he actually invited Brian Brown, the president of the National Organization for Marriage, like the most anti-gay bigot of them all. He invited him to his house, Dan Savage's house, to dinner. And a columnist from the New York Times, a reporter from the New York Times, was there to be the moderator. And they had a dinner table debate, and you can even watch it online now. And it seems kind of weird, like, why would you ever debate someone who's that rabidly anti-gay, who's that against who you are? And you realize that there was an opportunity there. And the opportunity wasn't that Dan Savage was going to crush the other guy with all these facts and statistics. That he did, but that wasn't really the point. The point was, let's take the best of what the other side has to offer and let everyone see it. Let's show how awful the thinking is that goes on in these other people's minds. And maybe that is the value right there. So I think the moral of the story here is, the next time we come across this question of should atheists debate creationists, or should scientists debate climate change denialists, or should anyone debate Holocaust denialists? Just whenever you have to debate someone from outside the community of reality, let's not dismiss it completely. I think there is something good about exposing such awful, not based in science views to the masses. I think there is something good about taking on those challenges, if for no other reason than to let people see what the other side has to bring to the table, because I think they're going to realize they have nothing to offer. They have no reality to bring to the table. So even though I wasn't happy with the debate taking place between Bill Nye and Ken Ham, I think I can now say it definitely wasn't a loss for science. I don't think any scientist walked away from that debate thinking that was a bad idea. If anything, it's like, wow, we should do this more often, because if Ken Ham is cloned and we have a lot of people spreading those arguments for creation, it won't be long before creationism just gets seen as this fringe idea that no one should take seriously, and more people will finally be able to admit that. My name is Hemant Mehta, and I write at friendlyatheist.com. Please leave your comments below, and we will be sure to check them out.